Here are a few clips of a sea fishing trip when I probably shouldn't have gone. It was in the boat with Wayne. It was as rough as a badger's body in a barbed wire fence. I shouldn't have gone out there, but although it did rock and roll a bit, we still scratched a few fish out. We come out, it's really a bit breezy. We come out in the bay here. Turn the microphone on, Graeme. We've come out in the bay here, just having a go. Pretty breezy, pretty windy. Sand eels, black lug, ragworm. Wayne just picked our first fish up at the outside, little wrasse, Wayne, yeah?
Yeah, little ballon, only a little one, but they count, they all count, so it's a start, and there's not as much weed as there was inshore, which was unfishable. Days like this, when you can't really do much else, you've got to stay inshore. You know, you make the most of it. A day's fishing's better than a day sat at home on the sofa, so hope for better than this, and good start though. Haven't gone mad yet, whatever it is.
Oh, big place, doggy.
Dirty dog. Well, it could be a bullass actually. We do get them on this ground. They're not big when you do get them, but on the bottom, was that fish?
This is weed, but I had a bite, so I'm checking it. I mean, it might be a fish here, but there is indeed a little wrasse there. One of yours, same as you just had. I did see the bite, but I wasn't altogether sure.
Oh, I dropped him off and picked him up. And well, it is, to be fair. Probably. Oh no, it's what's this? Oh, it's a better wrasse.
Oh, it is a wrasse, a better wrasse.
That's a better one, isn't it? Look at him. There you go, ballon wrasse. Slightly better than the last ones. Don't tend to get the colourful ones around here inshore, unfortunately. They all tend to be this drab brown. They're still a handsome little fish though.
That's what they're living over, I guess, is it, Wayne, the colour?
Yeah, well, yes and no. I think some just are lime greens and reds, all sorts. But I'll get him back quick because, as we said before, they're not the hardest to fish, so I'll zoom him straight back in.
Well, I see he was certainly jumping around a bit, and I used a light, very, very light LRF rod here. And you don't actually need it for, you know, getting the bites. However, it did work for this fish, and it's another wrasse. Bit of weed. There was a bit of weed. Some of the marks have terrible weed, and it obviously covers up the bait and thereby covers up the hook to the fish. Another nice ballon wrasse there. Back it goes. This rod's just a standard spinning rod, and look, it just goes to show we're maybe, I don't know what we are, a mile offshore, if that, 3/4 mile offshore, just off Hailing Bay somewhere. And you don't need really great big heavy leads if you're fishing in shallower water and the tide's not too bad. Obviously with this weed is a bit of a problem if you use a light lead, which I like to do, just enough to hold or bounce along the bottom. But you can get an amazing amount of fish and fun by using small hooks, small leads, and, you know, bouncing back in the tide. And this one was a lot bigger. For me anyway, considering the day, if I can ever get it aboard. That's a better looking fish there, look, see? Longer, much longer. Look at the size of the paddle of a tail it's got. But therein, the weather deteriorated somewhat, as you can see, and we had to pound our way back. Now, obviously, I've got the same boat as Wayne. It's called a cathedral hull, the shape of the hull. They're great going down the sea. They're okay going across the sea. But anything that you take on the nose, and boy, you get a pounding. You generally have to come back on the throttle. However, you do get a very, very good ride at anchor. And I don't think I've ever felt seasick in my own boat. That's probably because I've got the keys and I want to go home. If I do feel ill, I'm going to a shelter spot or going home. So there you go. We get a bit of a pounding going back. It was worth it. At least we had a few fish, but even here we had to call it quits and pack up early. Well, listen, even on a rough session like that, and that was only short, at least we caught something. I think it was mostly worms we were catching on then, so it doesn't hurt to take a few worms in the boat as well. Now, I've got to order something in the garage. I've been meaning to do it for years. I thought, I might as well do it now. Don't put off till tomorrow that which you can do today. basically a sort of shelfy type junky corner here. I keep all my leads on there. I keep them on the bottom. I keep them in little boxes. I keep them all over the floor in this one corner. And I have a nightmare when I want to go sea fishing. Where's the grip leads? Oh, where's the nose wired leads? Where's the breakaway leads? You know, boat leads, flat leads, place leads. You know what sea fishing are like. You have a lead for every eventuality. So I'm figuring, I've got wasted space up there. I've made myself this out of, yes, you've guessed it, leftover pallet wood, free. So I figured I'm going to, if I've measured this right, put it over the top of there, strip it all off, and then put the leads in grade so I know which ones. It's highly organised, it's highly technical. I'd probably never be able to find a lead again in my life, but it's got to be tidied up, people. Wow, look at that. Now you and I both know that while it looks very nice in the moment, it won't look like that when I've been fishing and I've come in for a fishing trip with just one of the leads in there. But let me run through them, because that is the best I've ever had. And of course now I can see there's, I think, 180 leads of different sizes in there. Which ones I'm going to be short of. So we start on the top shelf. These are lead feeders I've made, but can you see the grips on them? That's for up tiding with a feeder full of mashed fish. Sure to get copied. That worked well down the old, down the high tide areas, possibly Somerset, I would say, something like that. Then I've now got all my containers empty, so I can take whatever leads I want, put them in one container, and I haven't got a mishmash of leads there. These are stones weights that have got, you know, like a little swivel in them, and there's one there. I just tied a piece of string through, and you can make them up yourself. My mate made these up for me with just wire around the stone. I think it's a hot melt glue and a ring, all disposable. Next shelf down, these are my place leads for bumping along the seabed. You can see some have got eyes, some have been busted off. But so as they go along the seabed, the theory is they'll kick up the bottom. I made those out of oyster shells. If you look on our lead melting, you'll find them. There, for instance, is one that's made out of, yes, slip Olympic shell. Now, of course, you can just go in the shop. You don't have to make your own leads. It's a bit of fun. I quite like it. You can buy these ones as well, like a sort of watch lead. That's also going to stir at the bottom as it goes along for place, but it also has got a bit of grip there. Little bits of scrap lead. I've got all my tiny little leads here. I've got pipe lead there, which, you know, I can cut up lengths of and put on the line with a piece of valve rubber. If you look at one of our recent films, I think the other week it was mentioned on there. Down here I've got what's called a long-tail bomb. Now, we used to use these fishing, I'm going to say estuaries. I used to do quite a bit around the Thames, Gravesend area. I think it was Isle of Sheppey, all around there. And you had to cast a long way. And these do go a long way, but also going through the air, they stabilise. That tail stabilises, doesn't wobble like this through the air. So if you want real distance fishing, I don't know whether you can buy them in the shops, you know, we make our own. Long-tailed plain bombs. That's when there's little or no tide. These ones the wife got in the charity shop. I've lost about 8 of them. They're really good. I think they're about a 3-ounce little grip lead, and they're dead handy for the spinning rods I use. Then these ones, I think, don't hold me to it, I think they call those Gemini leads, so you can unscrew the head there. You can unscrew that cap and put different weight leads in, I think. And of course you can see that's got quite a long tail to it as well. That's a commercial one. And then I've got my sort of scrap leads that I make up with wires, and you've seen them before. You just wind the elastic band backwards and forwards over the end. I'll show you on perhaps this one down here. So you would cast in your mould, just to say a regular bomb, different types of moulds. I then, using a slow speed drill holes through them, put the wires through, bend them with that slight kink angle there. You can also hold them like that and bend the wire out. Half hitch a rubber band around it, as I've done there. We did these all the time when we used to go up Norfolk fishing for the legendary cod when they were up there and I was actually catching them. And you can adjust the tension on the rubber band like that. you cast out, and when you pull in like this, the rubber band lets those legs fold away. Just take some spare rubber bands, and I've got some up in a jam jar up there, so you can actually make your own grip leads using rubber bands, and I still use them. Or you can buy the regular moulds with little yellow tags, and there's a depression just in there, hopefully you can see that, and that little yellow tag just lodges, slide it up, in that depression there. The same the other side, it just pops in and we're straightening out, so when you cast out it grips into the seabed, but when you pull in they trip free, and you can adjust the tension obviously by putting it up and then squeezing them together like this towards the nose to make it tighter. I use these quite a lot because I don't do huge casting, so that sort of gets me away. These ones are a veined one. Okay, now these are good for flight stability, allegedly, right? Allegedly. It's a nice sort of, what, that 4 ounce, something like that, so it's a dead handy size for just general fishing. But the downside is when you reel in over really sort of rocky boulders and stuff, these veins, they'll catch and bang on the bottom. They then do this, they then twist and buckle over. Now you need to watch that, because your next cast the lead will be all over the place because it's not aerodynamic. So get a pair of pliers, sometimes you can do it with your fingers, perhaps not on a cold winter's night. Straighten those back out, so they're, you know, they're a good enough weight. But that veined area on the back, on rough ground fishing, no problems in the sand beaches, that does actually bang into things and it can bend off, so just make sure you look. Over here we got probably the better weights. These actually, this one, you can, if you shine a torch on it, it does go luminous and glow a bit. It's got its own little bait holder there, can you see that? And same principle, it's got the wire going into that slot there to lock those grips in place. Then you get this type, you know, with a cap here, actually releases a hook. It's just there. As it impacts, called impact leads, as they hit the water, water goes up this tiny channel here, it goes boom in the water at high speed, and that kicks up your hook and pops it off there, so it's a bait holder. They come in different sizes, they're all colour coded, they're not cheap, but they do cast really well. Down in the boat section I've got all my different sizes here. I suppose that would be the average size I use, who knows what it is, maybe 8 ounces, something like that. But I can see the one I use a lot, because I tend to double up and use them shore fishing as well as light boat fishing in relatively deep water, is a sort of 4 ounce. I've got 4 left, so I'm going to have to mould up some of these for the summer. These you might recognise, because I talked about those the other week in the tackle shack. That's those deep trolling leads that have got the clip at the front, the spring. You can put your line in and you can deep troll lures. You can even put baits down if you wanted, and they trip free. So these I got in British Columbia when we were salmon fishing there. I got some long-tail bombs there. No, I haven't painted them white, it's just white coat hanger wire, nothing special. But these ones, you know, for lobbing out sideways from the boat, just average tide, just to get away from the boat. Over here I've got my scrap ones. I just make those out of, wait for this, anybody recognise the shape? That's right, a Christmas mince pie silver wrapper. That goes down to the seabed, sits there, and if it snags up and I lose it, I don't mind. Down on the lower shelf here, oh god, I nearly went down with it then. These are what we used to use wireline fishing around the Isle of Wight, back of the Isle of Wight for cod like 40-50 years ago. Just those dome shaped ones. You can get them up to £3. Great to drop down, no fun to wind up. So I really use them now if I can help it. And of course now you've got braid as well, so you can get away with less lead. The standard big boat leads of £1, which you would use in big tides, I've got those. These ones are nice. I use those quite a lot. That's just a straight sort of 10 ounce, I think that one is. That's quite a good size for bouncing back in a tide with braid line in fast tides. And finally, down here is my mishmash of weights when I go reef fishing. Might be going down, let's say Falmouth, and fishing around the rocks and reefs down there. Cornwall, North Devon coast, when we used to go shark fishing up there, you'd lose gear if you anchored. So you want a cheap expendable lead. It's copper tubing. I put some silver foil over the bottom there, stand it in dry sand, everything has to be dry, bend over a piece of coat hanger wire, top it up, just before it goes off, just pop the wire in the top, and hey ho, that's what I would call there an expendable lead. I've got loads of them. That's a naughty one, it shouldn't be in there, it should be in the good heap. A lot of expendable ones there, and you can even go to the trouble if you want to. If you think the fish are attracted in clear water to something white bumping along the bottom, why not whack a coat of paint on there? White leads. Last but not least, expendable weights here in the shape of these nuts. Now you can also, if I've got one I can show you, down here you can fix them together like this on, say, a bolt, and add up as many as you want with a loop there that you can put a snap link on, and you can make it as heavy or as light as you want. And these are, you know, they're not tied together to fish like that. That's just so I can put them in my pocket and don't lose them. These are really good singly, I find, fishing for wrasse close in. I just tie a piece of line on it like that, a tiny swivel, and that's it, it's expendable. So, that's sorted out my leads. I can find everything I want there now, as you can see. Nice and neat and tidy. I just take what I need on the particular fishing trip I'm going on. Boat, beach, rock, surf, doesn't matter. Place, it's all there. Mind you, I've got other jobs to do, so let's move on. On the subject of leads, this is one I found down at Lilstock when I was fishing the other day in the rocks, and very often you'll get that. You see it's a grip lead. I haven't seen this type before, this shape before, but it looks like the actual link is snapped off. So if you can't get it out, which I've got my little gimlet tool here, it is in fact showing you there, snapped off, right? What I do is I'm not going to waste it, because I'm not going to melt it again, because that can be used, certainly boat fishing. I'm going to crush that flat using the jaws of the vise. Done this many times. I just taper it down slowly, as you can see, just trying to get it nearer and nearer the tip. You might not fancy it for say beach fishing, if you're really whacking and casting very hard, but it's tight. There's no question it does work. I've got several leads I've got like this, and I pinch it up tight, and then I can go through it with a drill and just level it up that way. Oh, you could do it with a hammer. You could do it with a hammer. I have indeed done it with a hammer previously, but I'm in the workshop. A bit of a messy workshop, I must admit. So why not use a vise? Job done, okay? So I'm going to fire a hole through there, and then I'm going to put a split ring in there. Just going to make a hole, or start it so the drill doesn't skid off. Like that. Slow speeds are generally best for lead. Take it out. Just tap it flat. Just flick off any little bits of scurf, I guess you call it. Get myself a split ring. I tend to use pliers to actually open that split ring rather than bust a nail. Use what size you want. So there, if you can see that, is my split ring. I can tie onto that if I want, or I tie my fishing line onto a regular link. The end of my rig then goes over the split ring like that, and that's ready to cast out. It saved me melting it down, saved me a fortune in gas. Have you seen the price gas has gone to? Oh my god, it's going to cost a lot to melt lead now. So there is a lead salvage that I can use just throwing out on a spinning rod from the shore, or indeed boat fishing. Right. Oh, another tip while I'm here. Been doing loads of, I mean, look, there's screws and fish hooks. You don't know what's been going on in here. I don't know myself half the time. I've been doing a lot of painting jobs. Yes, I put my terps or white spirit into a jar, but when you finish with the brush, let's just take that one out. I'm still softening this one up. It's always tempting just to not use that, but I find if you get a clear jam jar of any description, this is my one for cleaning the brushes. Okay, so you pour it out slowly, just like this, and then slow up at the end of it. You don't pour it all in because there's going to be bits of paint in there, you know, gunky gluey stuff. You don't want that in there. Now if you just leave that, that will eventually separate and the paint will go down there, and the part at the top I can't show you because it's going to take time, but the part that goes clear at the top you can re-drain off and then put back in to your terps or white spirit bottle. It's just a way of not wasting, well, I don't waste anything, you know that, a little bit of white spirit that you might want to use again. Right, next job. Been over in Mike's woodland doing fencing work. Yeah. And I forgot to take his 14-pound sledge back. As you can see, we got rained on. It's covered in rust, as is my steel shaft hammer, which I do like and wish they had put an orange handle to, because I keep leaving it and it gets wet. So I'm going to sand that down, and then you can either oil it or you can give it a coat of like an aluminium paint. That's what I do. And then on the handle I can give that a bit of a treat with linseed oil. What I do with mine is to stop other people and builders pinching it when they work on my place. Loads of my tools will have a piece of earthing tape around the handle or somewhere, so they go, oh, that's mine, it's suddenly in my van. Sorry chum, it's mine because it's got my tape on it. Just a way I do to try and hang on to lots of my older tools. This one's boiled linseed oil. I'm going to just put up the handle here. I think, so they say, it doesn't go as sort of sticky, as it were, as tacky as unboiled linseed. It does actually preserve the wood, and it brings a nice bit of colour out in it as well. And there we have, Mike's got another reconditioned, renovated, resalvaged, oh it's heavy, 14-pound sledgehammer, for which we can attack the stakes over his woodland again. Job done. So nice to get those leads all tidied up, but there on the shelf was what I call like a thumb stool we used to use for casting years ago. So I don't know if they still make them now. Here's the regular multiplier. Okay, so when you're casting, you normally put your thumb on here. This is beach fishing. Oh, listen, it doesn't have to be beach fishing. It can be big lures for pike, whatever you want. Thumb goes on there. Away you go, whizzz, away it goes, and you just lightly feather it or thumb it like this to stop an overrun occurring and getting a backlash. Some of the modern reels like this one, they'll have magnets and brakes and stuff like that. You can adjust it with, fine, that's okay. Some don't. But when we used to do really walloping great casts for the cod, you used to either use a thumb stool, which you know is what you put over your thumb if you've cut your thumb and you've got a plaster and a bandage over it, this is leather, or they used to make these little things, and I thought, my God, I can't even believe I've still got one of those. and it doesn't obviously work with a fixed ball reel. It's for multiplier fishing like this. You've got the bar at the bottom. Now, if you've got level winds on it, that's had a level wind there. You can see the channel in it. I take them off. A lot of guys cast farther with the level wind taken off because you can lay your line on the retrieve in what they call touching turns. You know, whereas the level wind tends to zigzag it on a wider throw, like a bobbin if you like. So when you really cast hard, you can cast with it, of course you can. But guys who want to cast a long way, a lot of them do take that bar out because otherwise it can't go fast enough. The level one just cannot go faster and you get problems in a big way. So I've taken mine off here as well, like I used to years ago. All this does, it just snaps onto this bar like that. It's just a pop on there. You can see that there. And then when you want to cast really hard, that goes around on top, if you can see, and your thumb goes over the top. As you cast, just the spool spinning will just ease that back like that. It'll either hold it just off here or it'll flip it back out the way. And then you can still lightly thumb, or you can just use this to lightly thumb. This one really is for having been set up with the magnets for the power you want to use without getting an overrun. It's just to make sure you don't burn your thumb. I just thought it'd be something to show you something different there. Guys, might not have seen that. I've got a sort of junk section here which comes under boat, junk, broken reels, spares, bits and bobs of line, in some old wrecking. We'll always keep like repair stuff. I'm figuring I'm not going to get to use too many of these now because I don't get out on the boat much. So I'm going to move those across there, and I've made, same as I did with the lead shelf, I've made another wooden shelf here which I hope is going to rest on top of this racking, and I might just be able to organise stuff a little bit better. So I'm going to try and lose all these. We use these for dans, what they call a dan, a marker buoy. You might put it over a wreck, you might put it over a reef, and you might put two of them so when they're apart it tells you which way the current's going, stuff like that. So they can be moved. I'm going to see if the shelving unit I've made would actually fit up there. I don't throw anything away, look. Giant spools, empty. But you never know when you've got an 80 wide reel or a 50 wide reel that you want to spool off and reverse the line, and you're going to need one of these. Why throw them away? £120 of like Corline with a snap on it, so I can put a weight on the bottom. I can snap on one of those buoys there, and I can put a marker down to tell which way I'm drifting when I'm in the boat. Don't throw it away. And this, actually, I can't remember what I use that for. I think that might go in the rubbish. That can be in the bin. Let's see if this shelf fits. There we go. Let's take all these. These are all live bait nets, like this. Was that Smith? All live bait nets I used to bring back from Florida every time I went. Live baiting for tarpon. Go. Gives me a lot more space for stacking stuff. All sorts of interesting stuff like flush mounted rod holders. And I've certainly got enough on my boat. You never know when you're going to need some more. Siloom light sticks. You never know we're going to need them, especially red ones, which is a spawning colour of the squid when we go sword fishing. Just gave one of my best tips away then. Right. Enough spools of leftover line. I use it for tying up the beans and everything. Well, it's dark out there now. I don't know if I hit this shelf with a hammer, oh, that lot's going to come down. I've stacked up all these sort of half-empty spools. You must have some yourself, guys. I can't throw anything away at all. You never know when you want to use a piece, actually. So I'm pretty well done now, guys. Going to finish up in here because it's cold out there, and fingers crossed I can tidy up the rest of all this rubbish and junk, and at least I know where my rubbish and junk is then, don't I? See you later. Well, it was a bit of fun, something for you guys to watch, and at least, and I honestly do, go and pick this lead up, that lead up, this one. I know exactly what I've got and it makes it a lot easier than just rummaging through boxes or doing what I've done, pick up the wrong box and you get to somewhere like the Bristol Channel. Oh my God, I've got plain leads instead of grip leads. I'm never going to hold when the tide runs. Trip's wasted. So it's well worth doing. We'll see you guys in the next one. It won't be more than about 48 hours before I put the next film up. Keep watching us. Support TA Fishing, TA Outdoors. If you want some merch, we got some merch. Mike's got the merch. He's the organiser. I have nothing to do with it whatsoever except I wear it. We'll see you next time, guys. Hit the notification bell, subscribe buttons, hit the like button if you want, if you're feeling really outlandish. I look forward to seeing you and joining me on the next trip.